Today we're in Belton, Texas, which is not far from Killeen, where Elvis was stationed at Fort Hood in 1958. We're going to check out this barber shop down here where Elvis used to get his hair cut. See the courthouse maybe in the background there. Take a left down there by the courthouse and then we'll swing around the road again. Historic downtown Belton coming up. On the left is one of the more historic buildings. It houses the museum now, but there's once the Carnegie. I'll have to look that up and give you the information later. I forgot what the Carnegie was. We're going to take a left here at the corner of the courthouse. Bell County, Texas. Also Killeen and Temple and Belton are all in Bell County, the larger cities, towns. Courthouse Square in Belton. We're on the north side. And the barber shop will be coming up here on the right, Jackson's. We're going to get out and walk down here and find a parking place. This is Jackson Barber Shop that we were talking about here. Downtown Belton, Texas, where Elvis used to get his hair cut when he was in the Army. It says we're open, so. We're back in Killeen, Texas now, driving right through the main part of town. Elvis's house, Oak Hill Drive, will be to the left. I'm in the other lane because I want to give some video here in a minute, but that turn off to the left right there is Oak Hill Drive, where that pickup and car is sitting in the road, if you can see them. We're going to go down here across from there. There's a little bit of information we want to pass down. Got a copy of this book the other day, The First 50 Years of Fort Hood, Texas, and it had this information that Elvis would have to go back to Fort Hood at 11 o'clock at night. He rented the house from his parents, we'll talk about it in a minute, but Elvis had to climb this embankment somewhere around here to get to his house where he wouldn't be bothered by fans. So we're going to turn around here in just a second and go back to Oak Hill. This is an old parking lot. This parking lot here is the old Woolworth Shopping Center, which was probably here even when Elvis was here, which probably means he shopped here. The big Woolworth building would be right there in front of us. It's been closed for several years now. We're going to go back on Highway 190. This is business Highway 190. And where all these trees will be here in a minute is where Elvis would have climbed to avoid all the fans that would be gathered at his house. He would sneak out, or somebody would drop him off, and he would climb somewhere in this area around this bridge, according to where his house would be. But he would climb up in this wooded area, which wasn't that bad back in those days. Embankment, say right in here possibly. And he would cut across to avoid the fans and sneak in the back door through neighbors' yards and whatever. And the story is that he also got bit by a dog one time when he was cutting across. I'm taking a right here, which will lead us to Oak Hill Drive. Condor Park is to the left, has been there for a long time. And we're going to Oak Hill now. like I said about the embankment, because we're up on a rise now. We're pretty high up from the highway going to Oak Hill, going down Oak Hill rather. So the embankment would have been somewhere there to the right, possibly. Because Elvis's house will be right here on the right on Oak Hill Drive. This is where Elvis stayed in 1958 when he was stationed at Fort Hood. Elvis had rented this house. According to the book I mentioned, the first 50 years of Fort Hood history, it said that Elvis actually rented this house for his parents. And of course, while he was here is when Gladys got sick and they went back to Memphis, and then she soon died after that. Elvis stayed here until he had to go back at Fort Hood to be on base by 11 o'clock also, is what the book said. Since he was an enlisted man, he had certain rules that he had to go by. There's one picture in a book somewhere of that flower bed up there where there's a star and a window on the left and two windows in the middle, kind of. There's a picture of Vernon standing there, but I can't locate the book again. I don't remember the title of it, but hopefully we can run across it again. House looks pretty much the same as the pictures, with the two-tone brick, a reddish brown brick, and then on top and in the front is a yellowish or light colored brick, and that's pretty much the way you'll see it in pictures also. So whichever way Elvis came from, whether he went right or left to get back to Fort Hood, probably both ways, just according. The street hasn't changed probably in all those years. From 1958, it's still narrow with different houses, of course. This is the corner of Tremere and whatever the other street is where Elvis turned. Taking a right, we'll be going back toward downtown Killeen and possibly the way he went to Fort Hood. Because these streets really haven't changed in all those years. We can go downtown Killeen. Here we are in downtown Killeen, Texas. Nothing much has changed here, probably even since the time that Elvis was here. You can see these buildings are old and not remodeled. Just new business names, but the buildings themselves probably haven't changed an awful lot. The old brick, the old fronts. This over here on the right is probably new, of course. But a big part of it isn't. Let's take a left. It's going to take a minute in here and we'll get back on the road here and show you something else. Yeah. We didn't get a lot of information from the book or anything else about Fort Hood, but we're just going to say that Elvis probably went to Fort Hood a certain way. Got a new mural down here that we haven't seen before of Killeen. Killeen was very small back then also. The population probably wasn't even a fourth of what it is now. Killeen's actually turned into a city. There's something from Fort Hood, a tank on display and a helicopter right here. Fort Hood itself does have museums, but it's hard to get on Fort Hood anymore because of security clearance. Not like it used to be when I was a kid and we drove around down here. Had a brother that went to the hospital on Fort Hood. So I'd been down here when I was probably 10 years old, first time, which would have been about 1966. Okay, we're going to turn here and head probably the way that Elvis might have gone when he did go to Fort Hood in the morning, or not in the morning actually, but in the evening when he had to go back to the barracks. He would have been coming from the other direction, the facing in the traffic we're going to be facing. When the light changes. Again, we're right downtown Killeen, Texas. We just left the actual downtown area, tracing Elvis's route that went by Elvis's house that he rented here in 1958. And we're going to take a ride here, go to the edge of Fort Hood. We don't actually know what entrance that Elvis would have taken, as we don't know what the entrances were back in those days. But leaving from his house and hitting back on Business 190 here, we'll just pretend that this is the way he took, which it probably was, just not documented anywhere. Killeen hasn't changed a lot. I was the first time that I went here actually as an adult to see the town was in 1975, and it's very similar to it was during those times. It's not a very nice looking city for Texas. It's probably more run down than any place in Central Texas actually. They had a cafe over here on the left that he might have gone to, the Venus Cafe, where it says burgers and whatever. We don't have any documentation that says he ate there, but being a cafe like that, it's highly possible it was. It's an old building. It was the Venus Cafe back in those days. And there's also a picture of it that I've seen online, so we'll try to find that picture to put in the video also. We'll be taking a ride here in the next light. Back in the old days, this area right here on the right was car dealerships back in the old days. Got one more route. On this block here is where the car dealerships and businesses were back in the old days. Now it's little mini malls with sushi. Have a large Korean population here, so you do have the Korean restaurant, sushi there, Vietnamese, and whatever else. All right, he probably took a ride here going to Fort Hood. This one entrance down here. Anything to the left side is part of Fort Hood, even the housing. There's a fence built around all of that. Lots and lots of barber shops down here nowadays, and sewing for alterations for uniforms, of course, and sewing patches on. And a lot of those are also Korean run businesses. Fast food, pawn shops and barber shops is what you see so much in tattoo parlors, of course. The next light would be the entrance to Fort Hood, and probably the way that Elvis came would have been right the way we're traveling right now. The guard booth there where you turn in for inspections and whatever. And that will conclude our trip to Killeen and Belton today. There's the entrance to Fort Hood, but they call it Fort Cavazos now, since it was recently changed. And there's a tank there at the corner and the entrance. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy.